don't know what that meant. I thought that was 20.
Hey everybody, and welcome to That's So Psyched, and we are going to be talking about different stuff in relation to psychology. We're going to be going into so many series, and we are so excited that you guys are joining us for our very first series, which is Rewriting Me. And basically we're going to be talking about identity and growth, and are we truly living for ourselves, or are we living for others? So me, I'm Chanel, and I have a dear friend with me, Yanira, and we're just going to dive in and we're going to talk about it. So, Yani, if Instagram were to disappear tomorrow, how would your life look like?
Wow, okay. I think personally, I'm not someone that uses Instagram to post. I feel like I'm very stingy with the way that I post, even if it's just stories. So it's a lot of doom scrolling.
Okay.
So I think if Instagram just disappeared, I would just have a lot of free time I didn't know what to do with.
Yeah.
But what about you?
I think if Instagram were to disappear tomorrow, I feel like when I am on Instagram, there's so many times where I tend to look at how people are doing in life, and I tend to kind of compare myself and how I am right now. And honestly, that's such a negative mindset to even be in, right? Because you think you're supposed to be in that stage of life, and you feel bad for where you are right now. So I feel like if that were to disappear tomorrow, that negative mindset of even seeing influencers, your friends from abroad, I feel that may dim down a bit. But definitely social comparison is so real, so evident in our generation as well. And and if that were to disappear, maybe there'll be more realistic expectations of ourselves, realistic basically how we even present ourselves would be so different. But yeah, that's more or less how I would think.
I think what you said about comparison is so true.
Yeah.
I think for me, I always find that when I compare, I'm either really motivated to start doing new things, or I know, okay, this is what I want to be, and I'm gonna do it. Or the complete opposite, right? I'm completely unmotivated, and I just don't want to do anything, and I'm stuck in this lull. And I think that's where the whole idea of self-presentation theory comes into play, because I pick and choose what I want to show. When I'm motivated and actually do things, it's when I want to post about it and I want everyone to know. But when I'm unmotivated and I'm in a lull, I'm just back to my doom scrolling. And I think what you said about social comparison, it just kind of reinstates it, because in posting only what I actually do, I add to that by having everybody else kind of see only what I'm actually doing and not my lulls. But I think that really comes into play.
And even when it comes to just how you kind of put yourself out in that online space and how you kind of present yourself, sometimes there could be a sense of facade that you kind of put out, right? And you kind of put yourself out just so with what you're doing currently, people can kind of see it and be like, oh, okay, this is what they're doing in life. But in reality, it could be the complete opposite, right? So I think even that online space, the culture in itself is so different, so vast to reality, so different to what you're doing day to day. And when it comes to that online space, there's so much comparison, there's so much even validation seeking. I think that has been so prominent, even the posts that you put up, the stories that you put up, you always want that validation from peers or even people that you don't even know. But you're striving for those likes, you're striving for those comments, you're even striving for maybe those replies from certain people. And that's again a culture that's so unrealistic sometimes when it comes to with what you're doing in your day-to-day.
I think that's the whole idea between the theory called looking glass, right? Where we see ourselves like it's a movie. Like I'm me, but I'm really seeing my whole life play out.
Yeah.
And that's kind of this whole idea of how we become who we think other people see us as. And how that kind of goes against something else called true self versus ideal self.
What are those?
So true self is who am I actually, like in this moment, what am I, who am I, all of those things. And then ideal self is who do I want to be, like what do I want to be. If I could pick and choose, okay, this is who Yanira is, what would be on that list. And the whole idea between this is my true self and my ideal self, and how do I get from point A to point B, I think that's where the whole like looking glass comes into play. Because I'm trying so hard to be what other people see me as, it stops me from being who I want to be. But I think that's really important, just like the different ideas that we come from. And even with that, I just kind of want to ask you, do you think we all have different versions of ourselves, or we're just like one me?
Ooh, really good question. And yeah, there is a theory called the self-discrepancy theory. Big word, I know. But essentially what its core is that there are different selves that are kind of within us. So like you mentioned, true, ideal, and the third one is odd self. So true self is more of like, who you are presently, the attributes you present right now. Ideal self is more or less what you're striving towards, who you want to be. And then odd self is who you think you should be, who you think you should, like who you believe you should be. And we just have those selves kind of living within us, and it could be so unconscious sometimes that we have these selves kind of coming out every now and then. So even when it comes to your actual self and your ideal self, that is so evident when it comes to your personal growth. When it comes to right now, right? What are you doing? What are your steps to your goals in the future? What are you trying to do now to achieve that? So you do have personal growth, like this is what I'm doing now, and I hope it's gonna change me in the future, right? And then you do have people pleasing sometimes when it comes to your actual self and your odd self. So like I mentioned, odd self is who you believe you should be, right? That can be so influenced by people around you. So like I could tell this is who you are, and then you are like, okay, is this really who I am? But then you tend to try and internalize that, and that can be so seen when you're trying to please other people, trying to validate their beliefs on you. So in that sense, your true self and your true self tends to kind of dimmer in those moments, right? And you're not who you are really when it comes to the people around you. But then you also have your ideal self and your odd self. There's also that little battle, and that can be so evident within your family.
Absolutely.
The expectations that your family has on you. So again, ideal self, this is who I'm working towards. Right now, we're in uni, right? We're doing psychology. This is what we really love. But then there could also be that family expectation of what they wanted you to be, what they wanted you to, accomplish, and then you start to question yourself, okay, is what I'm doing now,
is that who I ought to be?
Is that who I'm supposed to be? Like, and that little battle can be so, again, it's a bit of a negative mindset, but then you just have to like figure out, right, what I'm doing now, is it for myself? Again, question is, are we living for ourselves? Are we living for the people around us? But that's like the little three selves that we have within us, that kind of battle within. But
I love the way that you connected that from what I spoke about before with true self and ideal self. And in this theory of I think it's actual, odd, and ideal. I love the fact that the true self and the actual self are kind of like the same.
Yeah.
but two different theories. So I thought that was really interesting. And even what you said about people pleasing, family expectations, I think it's so common for us to feel a lot of guilt in choosing us, right? Like, okay, this is who I am and this is what I want to be, and all the things I need to do to be that person, all the guilt that comes from deciding these are the things that I want to do, these are the people I need to support, these are the people that I love, how can I help them, and how that kind of adds, if at all, to the guilt of choosing who you really are and choosing yourself and doing really what's best for you, right?
Yeah. So I think even in that Sri Lankan culture with us also, that can be so seen sometimes. Like, I think because we are such a culture that opinions matters, feedback is like, but we just strive towards that. Sometimes we let opinions be the loudest voice.
Absolutely.
When we try to choose who we want to be. So I actually do have a question when it even comes to that.
Yeah.
Do you think certain cultures have bigger impact on our identity than others?
Ooh, I love that question.
Yeah.
I'm a culture freak, but I think absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, there's these groups that we put different cultures into, and I think the most commonly known ones are what we call collectivistic and individualistic. So you have collectivistic, where it's really herd mentality. It's very commonly seen in Eastern, especially South Asian countries like us, where it's not really me, it's us, it's my people, my family, my community. And then you have individualistic cultures, confusing word to say sometimes, which is very Western cultures, right? Exactly what it sounds like. It's very individual based. It's not, okay, my family, but in all aspects, whether it's your family, your friends, your schools, your environment, where the whole idea of individualism is kind of put up, where you are promoted to do things for yourself.
Yeah.
And so I think absolutely it does come into play a lot when it comes to different cultures.
Do you think, because we are in a collectivist culture, right? When it comes to decision makings and even, again, family expectations, do you feel like that has played such an impact in your life?
Absolutely. I think even when it comes to decision making, absolutely, I think for me, family and decisions are like in a really bad way compared and really attached to each other. But I told you about this before, I talk about it all the time because it really gets to me. There's all these videos on like TikTok and Instagram of, okay, this is like older sister syndrome, or the oldest in the family and all the responsibilities. I'm not the oldest in the family, I'm the younger sister. But every single time I see one of those videos, and it's usually someone from the Western culture doing it, all I can think about is I do all of that too, even though I'm not an older sibling. So I think even being in this culture, I think that's where it comes out, because it's not the fact that I'm the younger sibling and I'm not the older sibling, it's the fact that I'm Sri Lankan. I'm from a collectivistic culture, so it's only natural that my decisions are not my own, because it's a very realistic idea to know that family expectations come into play, my decisions don't just affect me, and I think that's a really, really big thing, because personally at least, I can't just make decisions without thinking, okay, is this going to make it hard on my parents? Is my brother going to have as many options if I choose to do ABC things? So I think absolutely it plays a huge role, especially with Lankans.
And again, you brought up older sister syndrome. Not syndrome, older sister
syndrome.
Syndrome, okay, I can obviously testify to that because I am an older sister. I have two brothers, so even when it comes to I'm the oldest in the family, the only girl in the family, oldest to my siblings, there's so much expectation on me. And I think because I feel like even because I am the only girl, I even tend to have those high expectations on myself. I tend to try and like, it's more of like family all around me kind of puts that in me, and then I have to kind of put it out. To carry it out, essentially, right? So I feel like even being all three in a sense, right? I tend to have high expectations on what I should do. I tend to, even when it comes to making decisions, I always think of my two little brothers and how what I'm doing now, how is it going to benefit their life? How is it going to impact their life, essentially? And yeah, and so I feel like with that, and then you have the mix of being a Sri Lankan, there's so much to think about. There's so much. It could be a bit overwhelming sometimes. But then I really try to dive it down, and I really try to bring it back to, I'm not trying to live for them, but I am trying to kind of make decisions so that it won't impact them negatively, right? It doesn't harm them. But again, I always do have that question, and I love that we are starting the series with, are you living for yourself or others? Because I always ask myself that question in moments like that. Am I living for myself? What I'm doing now, is it for myself? Or am I trying to please the other people around me? And that has been so prominent in my family. And I just tend to, I always, even though I have those high expectations, I always give myself a break, let myself have that ease, and strive towards what I really want to do as well. Doing psychology, what I really want to do. And it's such a platform to even help me kind of reduce that negative mindset. But
I think it's really evident that we see that in independence, right? What you said about being the older sister, at some point, I mean, you were always the older sister, but you had to reach a point in independence, in growing up, that you kind of was able to understand that this is like what is expected of me, this is how it hurts my family, how it promotes them and all this stuff. So I think growing up in independence as a whole is really important, but it's a really big topic, which is why it's something we will be covering in the next episode. And so I just want to ask you, even from this really lengthy session, what stood out the most to you?
Oh, that's a good question. I feel like in this episode we have spoken about so many different areas, right?
For sure.
Your identity, social, like the social online presence, culture. I think one thing that kind of stood out for me would be how unconsciously yourselves are evidently present in your life. I don't know if I put that out there quite properly, but how your ideal and your odd self, that little battle is so there, and unconsciously it kind of comes out, right? In different environments also, it can also be so present, so evident. So I think that's a bit of an eye-opener for me, because just even it helps me kind of think when I go out into the world, like what self am I putting out? What self am I present?
To be more aware.
To be very aware. Absolutely. What about you?
I totally agree with everything that you said, and I love that you said the unconscious and being evident. It sounds like an oxymoron, but it's so true though. About how vastly different we are, and how much of depth we have to just each of us as individuals, right? I think this is who I am, but really that's just one of my many selves. And I think it makes it a lot more attainable, the idea of this ideal self, and who I want to be. And I think putting it into simple terms like this, even though I feel like having these really big words like discrepancy is a little bit of a mind boggler, it really lays out the foundation to kind of even just help me. I think coming into this, I probably knew all of those theories, but it really helps me be aware of, this is where I am, this is what I can be. And to be aware, I think the biggest thing for me is to be aware that who I am or who I want to be is different to who I ought to be, because I take responsibility really seriously. So it helps me kind of make it a point to remember that I don't have to be this crazy responsible one, that I can kind of prioritize who I am now and who I want to be.
Ooh, could I just add one more?
Yeah.
I feel like even because this is so psych based, right? How relevant and how easily applicable this is to our everyday day-to-day life, right?
For sure.
Like, I didn't even just talking about it, it's so relevant to us, to our generation, to even because we are the ones that are so like present in the online space.
Absolutely.
How that kind of plays a role to our identity and how that impacts who we are as well. And I feel like, again, we don't, it's such a underlying like reasoning for maybe for what we do day to day, right? And at least now there is kind of a base to, okay, this is why it is, right? So even just speaking and like letting you guys know, like, these are probably like the reasoning behind what you might be doing, why you might be acting a certain way. And I hope it like helps you guys understand that psychology is there, very evident, but like this is also something that you can kind of take back and just,
it's like built into us, right? Even though I mean at least when I first heard about psychology, it was this really, I don't know, daunting idea of like, okay, you can read my mind. That's not what psychology is, for starters. That is absolutely not it. But it becomes really, really clear the importance of all of this, right? Because even though, yes, it is like, it's very own field, it's really interesting, and I mean, even as one studying it, we can say like it is quite a bit, but at the end of the day, it's built into us. It's who we are, and it's a really cool thing that we have this podcast to kind of make it a little bit more understandable and I guess more attainable, more believable, more realistic. I think the word I'm looking for is. But anything else you want to add?
I think that's about it from my end.
So then we can even like wrap up this episode. And we hope to see you in the next episode to discuss growing up and independence.